Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and today I'm going to be getting rid of some books. This is the first book unhaul I've done on my channel. I'm not a minimalist when it comes to keeping books, but I really don't want to be a hoarder. I have limited shelf space in my house and I want to make sure that the books that I own aren't overfilling those spaces. The other thing that I've come to kind of realize about myself and my book owning habits, I really like the idea of my book collection being a reflection of the books that I love. I love the idea of someone coming in and looking at my bookshelves and being able to pick any book off the shelf and knowing that it's one that I have read and I liked and I would recommend. So that's kind of the goal today. It's going to be a little bit of a purge and I'm looking at my shelves in preparation, but in order to kind of keep me focused and really make this productive, I've come up with some of my reasons to keep books. I only really want to keep books if they are either 4 or 5 stars, so again, they're favorites, or if it's a favorite author of mine, even if every single book that they've written isn't 4 or 5 stars, if I still want to have their complete collection, I'm letting myself do that. The third reason would be if it's so beautiful that I just can't get rid of it. And so this is the exception to the favorite rule. And I will show you my bookshelves in a second, but I do keep them in rainbow order and I love rainbow shelves and rainbow books. And I already know that there are some books that I haven't loved, but I love the color of the book or the cover of the book so much that this time I might not be able to get rid of it. But if it's not a beautiful cover and it's not a favorite, it's going. And then the fourth kind of half reason that I would keep a book is if it's my husband's book. He does not own as many books as I do, and most of his books are actually sports related books, so I do keep those in a different area, but I think some of them might have snuck onto my shelves, and so I will probably remove those ones from my shelf and then just move them in a different area, so I'm not getting rid of those books because they're not mine in the first place, but I want to consolidate my shelves as much as possible. So let's flip you around, let's show you what I'm working with, and then I will get into the actual unhauling portion of this video. So these are my bookshelves that I'm working with. This room did used to be my home office, but it has recently been converted into my daughter's playroom, but I'm keeping these books here for the near future. But as you can see, they are rainbow order, but as you can also see is they are completely stuffed full. So I have these bookends really keeping all of these books on the shelves because they're floating shelves, but they're completely at the edges of the bookshelves. And so I would love to get rid of some of these books that I'm not loving and that I don't love the look of so that I can make room for more books to buy in the future. All right, after my first pass, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 books that I'm choosing to unhaul right away. There may be more. I have to go through some of my like spreadsheets and stuff of the books that I own and want to read and see if there are any more that I can get rid of, but I feel good about this so far. So I think what I'll do now is go ahead and talk through the books that I'm getting rid of. So the first book that I'm getting rid of is Option B, written by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. This is a nonfiction book that really is about grief. So Sheryl Sandberg lost her husband suddenly, unexpectedly, and this book is a combination of her story of how that happened and how she dealt with that afterwards, as well as Adam Grant providing commentary on grief and bouncing back from situations like that. And it was a good book. It just is something that I probably am personally never going to reread unless I was, in this very specific situation and needed some advice. Maybe I could seek it out from the library or something, but I'd rather pass it on to anyone else who could potentially use it and get value out of it more than it's gonna have just sitting on my shelf. The next 2 books that I'm going to get rid of are 2 Leanne Moriarty books. So one of them I have already read, and that's 9 Perfect Strangers. I actually kind of liked it. It's a pretty unpopular book from what I can remember seeing in reviews and stuff. It's about these 9 strangers who go to this like wellness retreat place and about their interactions with each other and figuring out what that place is really all about. This is being adapted, I think, and so I will probably watch the show when it comes out, but probably will never reread the book, and don't plan on starting a Leanne Moriarty collection anytime soon. So with that being said, I also am going to get rid of Truly Madly Guilty. To be honest, I know almost nothing about it, and so I haven't heard great things, I haven't heard terrible things, but nothing that really makes me want to pick it up. And I really am working on getting down my own TBR and only owning books if I've read them and I love them, or if I plan on reading them in the very near future. Let's see, next I have another nonfiction book. I have Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. I don't know if I really need to go into why I'm unhauling this. Didn't love it when I read it a couple of years ago, and not loving the things that I'm seeing come out about Rachel Hollis right now. So I have no reason to keep this book. Definitely not ever gonna reread it. And then I think the last nonfiction book that I'm getting rid of is The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands by Dr. Laura Schlesinger. I remember hearing a YouTuber talk about this book, not a booktuber, but like a mom YouTuber, talking about how this book like changed her marriage and she recommends it to everyone. And so I picked it up a long time ago and finally just read it really recently, and I don't even think I finished it. Not for me. I think it was outdated. I don't think I need this kind of advice in my life, and so I'm getting rid of it. Next book that I'm unhauling is The Vegetarian by Hong Kong. And this book I picked up actually at like a little free library in my neighborhood, just because I had seen it kind of floating around, didn't really know anything about it. I figured, hey, it's free, so I might as well pick it up as I was, you know, swapping books. And now that I've read it, don't need to keep it. I will probably return it to that little free library and see if anyone else in the neighborhood wants to pick it up. I don't think it's bad and I don't regret reading it by any means, but red is not a book color that I am lacking, and so I have no reason to really keep this, as it was just kind of a mediocre book for me. I'm also getting rid of The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is a mystery thriller. It's like an isolated closed circle mystery where all of these people are trapped in like the mountains during a blizzard. I'm trying to figure out where I'm at with keeping mystery thrillers. It's my favorite genre, but it's also the genre where I have the most, you know, 3-star books that I liked but didn't love. And so I'm kind of grappling with how I should keep my collection when it comes to those types of books. But for now, I don't think that this is one I'm going to be, you know, raving about to people and recommending all the time. I don't need to own the physical book. And the cover for me is also not a beautiful, you know, cover that I feel like I have to have on my shelves. And then I have a romance book that I'm getting rid of, and this is Love Lettering by Kate Claiborne. This is a contemporary romance. Like I mentioned, it's set in New York City. Didn't hate it, just didn't love it. Again, kind of the theme of this video, but I'm not a romance person. I don't foresee myself collecting this author's books. I don't foresee myself recommending this that often to people in the future, but very possible that I could pass this on to someone who actually does like romance and does like this type of book and would really like it. So I would rather do that than have it just sit on my shelves. I've got a few more mystery thrillers that I just felt meh about. So Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. A lot of people really liked this. I didn't think the twist was all that surprising, so just personally for me it wasn't, you know, a 4 or 5-star book, but not to say it's bad by any means. And I actually hope that I have some neighbors or friends that might be interested in this. And then similarly for The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, I don't plan on collecting this author duo's books. Already read this one, already felt mediocre about it, and don't need to keep more blue books. And then I have a Megan Miranda book, and I actually just picked up another book off my shelf that I decided I'm getting rid of. So The Safest Lies is a YA mystery thriller by Megan Miranda. I have read this one and thought it was okay. And then The Safest Lies by Megan Miranda is a YA, I think, mystery thriller that I have not read, but I don't think I'm gonna love. I've read, I think, 4 or 5 of Megan Miranda's books at this point and haven't loved any of them. And so I don't think I'm going to waste my time on this one, just because I haven't heard great things about it up to this point. So 2 Megan Mirandas leaving the shelves, and then a couple more miscellaneous mystery thrillers. What We Saw by Erin Hartzler is a YA mystery thriller. I definitely don't love YA mystery thrillers from what I've come to find out about myself. And then The Birthday Girl by Sue Fortin. I've heard nobody on BookTube talk about this before. I actually got this at a Half Price Books just on a whim. This was when I was first starting my book buying journey, I guess, and I was buying mystery thrillers that I had never heard of, and this did not pay off for me. Honestly, pretty forgettable. It's been a while since I read it, and I have no plans to reread. This author, this cover, do nothing for me, so definitely okay with getting rid of it. And then just 3 left to talk about. So next one is The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and this is like a modern classic, I think. It's on Oprah's book club list. I read it expecting really good things, and it really disappointed me. Like, I didn't just not enjoy this book, I actively disliked it. I thought it was really boring and kind of pointless of a book, to be honest. It's a sort of dystopian post-apocalyptic book about this man and his son walking on a road the whole time, and that's it. And it did not work for me. So definitely getting rid of it. Hopefully there are some people out there who are excited about it and it does work for, because it is a pretty highly acclaimed book, I think. But I don't need to keep it. And then I have Swapping Purples for Yellows, and this is actually an art copy that I received a year or 2 ago. It's a contemporary book, and there's nothing bad about it, nothing wrong with it that I can remember. It just really is not sticking with me. Didn't hit me in a deep or emotional place, and I kind of like the idea of placing this in like a little free library in my neighborhood, letting other people have the chance to read it. It's an art copy, so I can't, you know, sell it or anything, but of course there are still ways of getting it into other people's hands who want to read it. And then the very last book that I am unhauling is Jane Steele by Lindsay Fay. This is a Jane Eyre retelling. I read this shortly after reading Jane Eyre and was hoping for a lot more from it. The idea behind it is that this Jane Steele main character is you know, Jane Eyre as a serial killer, and I was hoping for just a lot more from that premise, but it was underwhelming to me. The cover is kind of cool, but it's overall black, and I have a lot of black books, and because I didn't love it, I don't need to keep it. So that is it for this video. Like I said, I might go in and unhaul some more books, but I think I'll do that, you know, off camera. All right, change of plans. I'm back. It's a couple hours later. I went through my spreadsheet of books that I own, and I looked a little more closely at books that I had rated, you know, 2 and 3 stars, and reevaluated whether I really need to keep them, and decided I don't. So I have actually 11 more books that I'm unhauling, so we've got 28 total. So really quickly, I'll run through the additional books that I've decided to get rid of. So the first one is the other Kate Claiborne book that I own. I was also sent this book to review. It's a romance. Again, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. The only reason I was initially going to keep it is because I think it's actually really pretty, and it's purple, and I don't have that many purple books. But when I take a step back and think about it, I don't need to keep it just because it's purple. So I'm gonna get rid of it. And then we've got kind of a controversial one, possibly, Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. So I actually just recently talked about this book in a 5-star predictions video. It's super hyped on BookTube. This author is super popular. I just don't think that this author's books are gonna work for me, and so I don't need to keep this one that I've tried out and that I rated 3 stars. And so I'm actually really excited to pass this one on because I think someone else will really enjoy it. And very similarly, also getting rid of The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. What it really comes down to is this is more fantasy than I enjoy, and so I didn't love it. I gave it, I think, either 2 or 3 stars, but it's some people's favorite books, and so I want to give it to somebody who it's going to be their favorite book. And then we've got another book that I was sent for review. This is called I'm a Rock Star. To be honest, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this book because I really disliked it, and I gave it 1 star, and I originally passed it by because it does have like this orangey yellow cover, but I do not need to keep a book on my shelves that I disliked this much. So I'm not sure who I'm gonna try to give this to or what I'm gonna do with it, but all I know is I'm not gonna keep it. And then I'm getting rid of Gone by Michael Grant. This is a YA dystopian book. I actually really like the bright green color of it, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna continue on with the series. I'm not gonna really recommend this book. And it's a pretty big book that takes up a lot of room on my shelf, and I could be using that for, you know, other other books that I really love. Then we have a book that I actually haven't read yet, and that's The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I had bought this because obviously it is a super popular book and I may still want to read it at some point in the future, but I think that if that time comes, if I come up with, you know, a video concept that would include it, or for some reason I really get the urge to go back and read this popular book, I can check it out from the library, and so I'm going to do that. Next, I have a book that was one of the more difficult ones to get rid of because I think it is one of the prettiest books I've ever seen. So it's called Why We Broke Up. It's by Daniel Handler, and it's illustrated by Myra Coleman, and it is a book that has a lot of well, now if I could find them, that would be great, but it has illustrations throughout it, and I love the pictures in the book and the art style, but unfortunately I really did not like the book itself. I really didn't like the story, and so it's hard to get rid of it because, again, I think it's really beautiful and I appreciate it and I want to like it so bad, but I just don't. And so I want to let someone else enjoy it. I don't need to keep it just because the pictures are pretty. I never go up and like look at the pictures, so it's kind of a silly reason to keep it. And then I have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This one was just okay for me. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. Just don't have a reason to keep it. The next one, My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman. Frederick Bachman, I own a few of his books, but at this point I don't think I need to own all of them. So I'm not keeping the ones that I don't really enjoy, and this one was not my favorite. It's told from a child's perspective, and I'm not sure if that's why I didn't like it. There are also some fantasy type elements to the book, so I think it was kind of a combination of reasons it didn't work for me, but I'm sure that there are kids or people out there who would really like to read this book. Next one is called White Girl Problems by Babe Walker. This book is not good. This was an impulse buy from like Half Price Books or something. I think it was on like a clearance shelf, and similar dilemma with this one with the purple spine because I don't have that many purple books, but I don't need to keep a book that I just don't like just because it's purple. That's what I'm telling myself. And then last but not least, one more nonfiction book. This is Good to Great by Jim Collins. I think I was recommended to read this book by like a senior leader at a previous job. He recommended this as like a business book for people looking to advance their careers, and I didn't think it was a bad book, but for me, I just don't foresee, I don't know, it seemed like very specialized advice, and I don't necessarily foresee myself being in the positions to make the types of decisions that this book is talking about. So because of that, I'm happy to pass it on, and I've got plenty of read books left. So with that, I will get back to the outro in a second, but in case you are curious, and since you're still here, I thought I would tell you that my entire owned collection of books is 185 books total, and of those I have read 159 of those, and I have not read 26 books. I would love by the end of this year to get that down to like under 10 unread books and keep it at that level, but for right now I feel really good about that number, about my space, and about everything. So let's get back to the outro, but I thought I'd let you know the additional books since I decided to go ahead and unhaul some more. Okay, I'm sorry this video is such a mess, but I picked 2 more books to make it an even 30 that I'm getting rid of. So first one is One More Nonfiction Book, Give and Take by Adam Grant. I actually rated this book 4 stars. I just don't plan on rereading it. Nonfiction, not my favorite genre anymore, and I don't know, I don't think this was life-changing in any way, so I'm gonna pass it on. And then the next one, the last one, number 30, is one I've been also struggling with for a long time because I think the cover is really pretty and the spine is really pretty. It's The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Unfortunately, I really did not like this book either. It was 2 stars. It's a contemporary book about these 2 teenagers who meet in like New York City, I think, and spend a day together, and it was just slow and unrealistic to me. I just didn't like it. I love the cover so much, but I'm parting with it. I'm doing it, making the decision, can't go back. All right, that's it. So I feel good with that. I hope that this gave you some motivation if you are someone who's been holding onto books for a long time and you need someone to push you and tell you to get rid of them. You don't need to keep them. If you didn't love them and you don't plan on rereading them, you know, what's the point? Hopefully this helps you make that determination, or else at the very least, hopefully it was entertaining. But with that, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.